time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Used to lose, built to win, applied myself, I felt it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, applied myself.
Welcome back to PTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode. We're going to talk about the NIT games that we got for tonight. Before I start, I'd like to ask you to please leave a like, subscribe, comment, all of that there. It helps the channel, helps the network. It helps my channel, CTC, by way of the Refuse to Lose Network. We also got the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Tuesday, Friday, 7 to 8, 8:30ish. We have Unfazed every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central Time, featuring AJ. We have BWT, Baseball with Teddy. We currently have the Dodgers playing the Cubs right now. Sasaki just got out of a crazy third inning. Did give up one run, but finally got some command. He was throwing a whole bunch of balls, but that game going on right now. FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Off-season talk is here, so he's talking off-season. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. We have Real Ballers Only, RBO featuring Vaughn, NBA content, so make sure you check that out. We have In the Red Corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo, boxing episodes every other Sunday. Make sure you check them out. And I believe that's all we have on the network. That's also all the shows that we have to offer on the network. So please like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows as well. If you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now we're going to jump right into it. Again, all these games are tonight. Speaking of the NIT, while I scroll for my banners, I'm currently 5-2 in the NIT, and I'm currently 1-1 in the tournament. Now, last year in the tournament, I started off 1-3 in round of 68. So let's see how that goes tonight. But like I said, 5-2 in the NIT. My two losses were Wichita State, which Oklahoma State went on that run in the middle of the second half, and Wichita State just could not respond. And I lost Georgia Tech. Jacksonville State just flat out boat raced Georgia Tech the entire game. But yeah, I got Kent State, who was able to get punched in the face early in my game and fight back to actually take the lead at halftime. I got Stanford and Santa Clara, which both of their teams, they just boat raced UC Riverside and CSUN Northridge, Cal State Northridge. I got Chattanooga over Middle Tennessee State. What a game that was, triple overtime. Chattanooga finally pulled it out at the end of triple overtime, but that was an extraordinary game. Even with their best player, Hunter Huff, he only had 4 points, I believe, through double overtime, had a big three to put a dagger in the Middle Tennessee State. So that was a huge game there. I got that one. And I got there's one more game I got correct. I got Arkansas State blew out St. Louis. So those are the 5 I got right, 2 I got wrong. But let's get into it. So we got the NIT tonight. We got first game, UAB at St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's, a really good A-10 team. UAB almost won the American Conference tournament yet again, lost to Memphis in the finals. St. Joseph's comes into this one as a 5.5-point underdog as of last night. 5.5-point favorite as of last night, excuse me. Game is 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Now, we all know UAB, well, maybe we don't know, but UAB is led by Yaxel Luxembourg. He leads them in every category. He has been a dog all year for UAB, almost willed his team, like I said, to a tournament berth. Quite easily UAB's best player. And he is averaging 17.7 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists per game, 1.7 steals, and 1.8 blocks per game. Also, UAB led by Alejandro Vasquez, averaging 11.1 points per game, and Christian Coleman averaging 10.9 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor to me is Tony. His hustle, his energy, his ability to get to the cup. I think that'd be huge for UAB. Now, for St. Joseph's, they're led by Xavier Brown, averaging 17.5 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, 4.4 assists, and 1.4 steals. Eric Reynolds, averaging 16.2 points, and Rasheed Fleming, averaging 14.9 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, and 1.4 steals, and 1.6 blocks. The X factor to me is Deshaun Haskins, and he's scoring off the bench, averaging 5.8 points per game. I think that'll be huge for St. Joseph's. But my winner, I'm going with UAB, man. UAB has been playing exceptional basketball. They just ran into a Memphis team that was just better. Memphis is just better. They were the upper echelon of the American Conference. And UAB was able to hang tough, but ultimately at the end, I think wore out, and Memphis was able to take over, take advantage. I think this UAB team, they can win. I think they can win despite being underdogs. I'm rolling with UAB. Like Yaxel Luxembourg, if he stays out of foul trouble, he's a force to deal with. I'm going to roll with UAB. And if Ephraim Johnson can get some shots, knock some shots down, UAB is going to be tough to stop. Next, we have Sanford at George Mason. George Mason comes into this one as a 7.5-point underdogs. As of last night, right now, actually, I have the odds up. They are currently 6.5 points. So underdog. I keep saying underdog. 6.5-point favorites. So let me change that for y'all right there. Boom. 6.5-point favorites. Game is 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Now, Sanford, they're led by Trey Fort, averaging 14.9 points per game. Jaden Brownell, averaging 13.6 points per game. And Rylan Jones. You might remember Rylan Jones from playing at Utah State, where he's now averaging 11 points per game, 5.2 assists per game, and 1.7 steals. Their X factor for me is Josh Holloway and his scoring ability and his ability to steal the ball, averaging 1.5 steals per game and 7.8 points per game. He's going to be key for the Sanford Bulldogs. Now, for George Mason, they're led by a big fella. They're led by the big fella, Jalen Haynes, averaging 14.1 points per game, 7.1 boards. Darius Maddox, averaging 13.7 points per game and 1.1 steals. And KD Johnson, coming off the bench, averaging 7.2 points per game and 1.2 steals per game. KD Johnson, most known for playing at Auburn University. Now, their X factor to me is Jared Billups and his scoring. If Jared Billups can get going for George Mason, he's going to make George Mason tough to stop. But ultimately, I'm rolling with George Mason. George Mason is also a really good team. Made it all the way to the A-10 finals. Won a share of the A-10 regular season, even though I thought VCU should have won it outright because they won the head-to-head. But they're a really good team, man. And KD Johnson is a really good player, and they're coached by a former VCU alum who was a part of that Cinderella run. I think they can get Sanford. Sanford's also a really good team. Don't get it confused. But Sanford, I think, showed abilities to drop games in their SoCon season. So I'm going to roll with George Mason. Man. I think that they get this job done. Next, we have FAU at Dayton, which Dayton is currently 1.5-point road favorites. I'm not road favorite. They're 1.5-point favorites. This game is 7 o'clock on ESPN2. So a nice little watch if you're flipping between this game and Mount St. Mary's versus American. But FAU, they're led by Caleb Glenn, averaging 12.5 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game. Baba Miller, averaging 11.2 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 1.8 blocks, the transfer from Florida State. And Matis Vikochis, averaging 10.1 points per game, 5.5, the big man down low. Their X factor to me is Kai Tandy and his three-point shooting ability. He's shooting 39.4% from three. If he can get the three ball going in the game that could get quite defensive at times, that would be huge for FAU. Now, Dayton, they're led by Nate Santos, scorer, shooter, averaging 14.1 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game. Enoch Cheeks averaging 13.2 points per game, 6.4 boards, and 1.8 steals. And Malachi Smith averaging 10.5 points per game, 5.3 assists per game, and 1 steal per game. Now, my opinion, their X factor is Posh Alexander, the transfer from St. John's. I think he was at Seton Hall last year as well, too. But he's my X factor for them. His ability to facilitate the ball, he has a really good ability to just get to the cup and seek contact. If he can get to the rim, drive and kick, or just get to the rim and finish, That'll bode well for Dayton. And my winner in this is actually Dayton. My reasoning for picking Dayton is because if you remember early in the year in their non-con, they had a tough non-con, but they was able to get some key wins. They were able to beat UConn. They were able to beat Marquette. They played UNC close, lost by 2. They played Iowa State close, lost by 5. But they got some really big wins, the Dayton Flyers did, and they were talked about as possibly being one of those teams to win the A-10 and be scary in the tournament. Now, it didn't pan out that way later in the year in the conference, but if Dayton can muster up what they did against non-con, they're a scary team in this NIT. So I'm rolling with Dayton in this one. No slight to FAU. I like the FAU, but I'm rolling Dayton. Next, we have North Alabama at Bradley. Bradley 2.5-point favorites despite not having Darius Hannah and Zeke Montgomery. 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus. North Alabama, led by Jakari Lane, averaging 17.4 points per game, 4.1 assists, and 1.3 steals per game. Cornelius Williams, averaging 9.8 points per game, 9 boards, and Daniel Ortiz, averaging 11.6 points per game and 1.1 steals. Now, the X factor to me would be Will Saucy. His scoring ability, scoring 10.5 points per game. So if he can add on more points against the Bradley Braves, that'd be huge against a team that they can defend on the perimeter. I'm not gonna say they're a defensive team, but they can defend on the perimeter. That'd be huge for them. Now Bradley, led by Duke Dean. Duke Dean averaging 13.8 points per game, 3.7 assists per game. Again, they don't have Darius Hannah and Zeke Montgomery, which, spoiler alert, my X factor is somebody got to step up to replace that production that they're losing from them two guys. But since they're not there, I put Christian Davis, 9.6 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and Almer Allison averaging 5.5 points per game and 4.4 boards. So somebody has to step up. And I do think this Bradley team is good enough to get past this Northern Alabama team. Again, no slight to North Alabama. I just think Bradley is still a good enough team with those two being missing to get past them. So I am going to pick Bradley to beat North Alabama. But I do think the two of them being gone will be huge later on in the NIT. But for right now, I'm picking Bradley. Bradley still has the ability to knock down the 3-ball. They still have their best player in Duke Dean. It is going to be tough, but I do think they get past North Alabama. Next, we have Furman at North Texas. North Texas comes into this one as 8.5-point favorites. Actually, Bradley is now 4.5-point favorites, just if you were wondering. But North Texas comes to this one as 8.5-point favorites. This game is 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Now Furman, I talked about him last night. PJ Smith, led by PJ Smith, hit some huge shots in the SoCon tournament, just could not get past Wofford in the final. All State would be going dancing. But 18 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game, and 1.6 steals per game. Nick Anderson, the perimeter scorer, the shooter, averaging 14.7 points per game, 1 steal per game. And Cooper Bowser, down low, averaging 8.5 points per game, 4.7 boards, and 1.7 blocks per game. Their X factor to me is Ben Vanderwall and his scoring and rebounding ability, averaging 5.7 points per game and 5.5 boards. He's going to be huge in this one if Furman wants to get past a very defensive team in North Texas. Now, for North Texas, they're led by Aiden Wright, averaging 15.2 points per game. Jasper Floyd, averaging 8.2 points per game, 3.8 assists per game, and 1.3 steals. And Jonathan Massey, averaging 8 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. To me, the X factor is going to be Malay Sissoko and his rebounding, giving him 6.4 rebounds per game, and his activity around the rim. Just being the presence, getting boards, maybe finishing around the rim, maybe catching the oop if available. His activity is going to be huge in this one for me against North Texas, against Cooper Bowser, Ben Vanderwall, and those guys. But ultimately, I went with the defensive team. I went with North Texas. North Texas is a really good defensive team. At times, Aiden Wright can go crazy. He can explode and detonate for points and bunches. But their main calling card, as it's been for the last couple of years, is defense. And I think that's going to hurt the Furman Paladins because they are a team that can go cold from the field. They can, I don't want to say struggle at times to generate good shots, but you can affect their offense defensively. So I'm going to roll with North Texas in this one to get the W against Furman. Next, we have Northern Iowa versus SMU, or at SMU. SMU comes into this one as 10.5-point favorites. Y'all know me, man. I like Northern Iowa. I've been watching Northern Iowa ever since Seth Tuttle. When Seth Tuttle was there like 10, 11 years ago. They're led by Titan Anderson, averaging 15.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Trey Campbell, averaging 11.2 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.4 steals per game. And Jacob Hudson, averaging 11.7 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game. The X factor, Max Weisbrod for me in his three-point shooting 41.3% from three. I think this game can get very high scoring, and he's going to have to help put in the points for Northern Iowa. Now, for SMU, they're led by Wake Forest transfer Boopie Miller. Boopie Miller averaging 13.2 points per game, 5.5 assists per game, and 1.6 steals. Chuck Harris, transfer from Butler, averaging 12.8 points per game. And Matt Cross, the transfer from UMass, averaging 11.9 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. Now, their X factor to me is B.J. Edwards and his scoring ability. Again, a lot of points going to be scored in this one, and he's going to have to help, averaging 9.8 points per game. And he can do it all. He can assist a little bit, go and get a rebound. He can score. He can do a lot on the floor. So he's going to be huge. But I ultimately went with SMU. SMU really good at home. I think SMU defensively, they're not the greatest, but I think they can play pretty decent defense against UNI. And I don't know. I think I would probably say athletically, SMU might be superior to UNI. From what I see. So I'm going to roll with SMU in this one to get the W. I was looking at my picks before I move on, and I was looking, I'm like, dang, yesterday I didn't really go a lot of favorites. I probably went more upsets than favorites, but today I'm looking, I'm like, I'm taking a lot of favorites today. But we move on to Northern Colorado and UC Irvine at 10 o'clock on ESPN Plus. UC Irvine comes into this one at 7.5 point home favorites, which I think is very well warranted. Still 7.5. Northern Colorado, led by Isaiah Hawthorne, 17.4 points per game, 5.3 boards, and 1.2 steals. Langston Reynolds, 16 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, and Jerron Rowley, averaging 12.1 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and 1 steal. The X factor to me is Quinn Denker, scoring off the bench, scoring 7.2 points per game. It's going to be huge against this UC Irvine team and their length that the Anteaters have. UC Irvine is led by the big fella, Ben Leighton, averaging 15.4 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks. Devin Tillers, averaging 13.2 points per game, 7.6 boards. And Justin Hahn, averaging 11.9 points per game, 3.7 assists per game, and 1.5 steals per game. The X factor to me is Kyle Evans. His rebounding and shot blocking ability off the bench, averaging 3.5 rebounds and 1.2 blocks per game. Now you got to realize, and I did, but Andre Henry for UC Irvine hasn't really played all year, which is huge because he was a big part of that team last year. So for them to almost go dancing in the Big West tournament where they lost to UC San Diego, which shout out UC San Diego, I'm so happy for them. It's huge. But I'm riding UC Irvine. Like I said, I think the length of UC Irvine is going to be a bit much for Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado, a really good Big Sky team. But I think UC Irvine is going to be too much for them down low. And I think they get the W working through the bigs. So give me UC Irvine for the win. Next, we have Utah Valley at San Francisco. So WAC versus WCC. San Francisco comes into this game as 7.5 point favorites. This game is 11 o'clock on ESPNU. For all my night owls out there, used to be like that. I'm getting older now. I'm not like that anymore, or not the same anyway. But Utah Valley is led by Dominic Nelson, averaging 14.7 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game. Tanner Toulson, averaging 13.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. And Carter Welling, averaging 12.9 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game. Their X factor to me is Osiris Grady and his ability to score, averaging 5.6 points per game. He can at times get to the rim, draw a foul, get to the free throw line. So I do like Osiris Grady in that one as an X factor. And for San Francisco, they're led by Malik Thomas, averaging 19.3 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.7 steals. Marcus Williams averaging 15.1 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 1.5 steals. And Tyron Riley averaging 9.6 points per game, 5.9 rebounds, and 1.2 steals. The X factor to me is Junji Wang in his rebounding and his activity. He was a part of the team last year with Jonathan Mokbo. He wasn't a big piece, but he was a piece. I think he still is a piece of this team, and his activity is going to be huge for San Francisco, especially with their defense. They're still a defensive-oriented team. There was a defensive-oriented team last year. They are this year with some guys that can just go offensively, and that's why I think that they beat Utah Valley, because when Utah Valley plays a team that got some guys that can go but also play defense, they struggle. And I think that's why they lost to Grand Canyon twice in blowout fashion. Well, I think the tournament was – I can't remember what the tournament was. They did lose one time in the season by blowout fashion. And I think when you have a team, like I said, the guy that can go and your team can play defense, it's scary against Utah Valley, who can definitely get cold from the field. They can definitely go cold. So I'm rolling with San Francisco to win this game. In the last game, Loyola Chicago, 3.5. It's still 3.5. Yep, 3.5-point favorites on the road against San Jose State. Now, I will say San Jose State is a better team at home than they are on the road, but this Loyola Chicago team has been playing great basketball of late, and it starts with Des Watson. Des Watson averaging 12.9 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. Jaden Dawson averaging 13.2 points per game, 1.1 steals per game, and Sheldon Edwards Jr. averaging 12.2 points per game, 3.6 points rebounds per game. Excuse me. Their X factor to me is the big fella Miles Rubin, and his shot blocking and rebounding ability, averaging 5.4 rebounds and 2.3 blocks per game. He's going to be big, swatting shots away from the rim. While San Jose State is led by Josh Uji, averaging 16.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.1 steals. Latrell Davis averaging 11.1 points per game, and Robert Vahola, averaging 7.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks. The X factor to me would be Jermaine Washington, the freshman. His scoring ability off the bench, averaging 4.3 points per game. They're going to have to score against a really, really good Loyola Chicago defense. And he's going to have to help that, because Loyola Chicago has a really good defense. And that's why I'm picking Loyola Chicago. Really, really good defense. Really well coached by Coach Drew Valentine. And they got guys that late in the shot clock can score, like a Des Watson, like a Sheldon Edwards can hit a late shot clock three. He can hit the three ball really well. And Dawson, Jaden Dawson, he can shoot it from the perimeter. He can score. I really do like this Loyola Chicago team. I like them I got to look at the bracket again, but I think I like them to make a little run, because they're a really good team. Lost in the semis of the A-10 to VCU, but they didn't go down without a fight. They are really, really good. I'm going Loyola Chicago to win this game. Now, that is the end of the NIT games. Again, we have Mount St. Mary's versus American tonight for the tournament in the round of 68. We have Texas versus Xavier in the round of 68 as well. I talked about those games on my last show, so make sure you check that out. I will have my records for my games posted soon. I looked at my record last year just to compare a little bit. Like I said, last year I went 1-3 in the round of 68, but overall I went 38-26 in the tournament, and I went 15-13 in the NIT. A little disappointed in my NIT record, but it's okay. Hopefully we can top that. This year, tournament record is going to be tough to top. 38-26 is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. So it's going to be tough to top that one. But hopefully we can do that as well. I'll be back tomorrow morning to discuss Thursday's tournament games. We got 16 games to talk about Thursday, so it's going to be tough. Then we got Friday. We got to talk about those 16 games. And then the round of 32 will be set for Saturday and Sunday. Also, will be set the 16 teams remaining in the NIT, so we got to talk about those as well. But y'all enjoy this Wednesday. If you got to go to work, hopefully your job goes well today. But that's all I got for y'all today, and I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.